Hey there, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Ann Perry, and I wanted to let you know what's coming up in the Master Number 11 membership this month. This month, my guest is Al Rohde, who is an emotional freedom technique practitioner and teacher. Hey, Al, how are you?
Great, Ann. Thanks for having me. I'm really grateful to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy that you made time for us and you'll be sharing your special gifts with us today. Really appreciate it. So we're going to be talking during this little bit of an intro to our event that's coming up on Monday, the 21st of October. That's going to be at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, you need to be a member of the Master Number 11 membership to be able to attend this, but that's super easy, and I'll give you details on how to do that a little bit later. But today we're going to be talking about what exactly is EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. What is it? And how did you, Al, how did you get into it? And how is this going to benefit Master Number 11s? Because we know that Master Number 11s are a really unique breed, right? They have some unique challenges. And I just thought it would be great if you could help them sort of understand what it is they could be doing with EFT. So let's start with what exactly is EFT?
Well, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques.
Okay.
It's also known as tapping. So many people now use the term tapping instead of EFT.
Okay.
But it all means the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was discovered and developed by a life coach about 30 years ago. His name was Gary Craig.
Right.
And he worked with a psychiatrist named Roger Callahan, who also came up with a technique called thought field therapy, or TFT.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary studied thought field therapy, and then he was trained as a mechanical engineer. He used his engineering expertise to simplify thought field therapy in order to make it available to the average person. And so I discovered EFT about 12 years ago online. I was looking for something else, and as you know, things happen online. I discovered this thing called EFT, and I looked at it, and it was a pretty cheesy looking website, and
it was. I remember it.
Yeah. And they had
Yeah.
they had unbelievable testimonials, and unbelievable was the key word. I didn't believe it. It seemed like it was too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an 87-page operation manual for free to download from the site. So I downloaded it and I started to study it. And I came to make a long story short. I came to realize after about 4 weeks of practicing and applying the training in the manual that I had a huge shift in my feelings around. My dad died when I was 19, and here I am sitting around at the age of 55, grieving my father's death without having even realized that's what I was doing at first.
Wow.
And I recognized, then I started, as I was feeling all this sadness and this memory was coming back to me, I was practicing tapping, and 15 minutes later, I was just felt like I was 10 pounds lighter. I was like, I had remembered so many things that went on during my dad's funeral that I had never thought about since. And I had never properly grieved my dad's death until that day.
Amazing.
And so it was amazing to me, because for 4 weeks I was trying and nothing really was working.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But see, I was, as most of us, I was stuck in my analytical mind.
Welcome to my world.
Trying to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
And so once I got into the feeling place in my heart and started to feel the loss of my dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those years later, then the tapping really started to take hold.
Yeah.
So one of the primary things I do now, of course, with clients in private session is we get into the feelings very quickly through asking pointed and clear questions.
I think that's a really good point, because I find Master Number 11s, as children, they're often shut down. What they feel, what they see, what they experience is not acceptable because it's too out there. People just start to treat them as if they're really different and they don't fit in. And so they do what they can to kind of bury all of that. And it's not safe for them to get to their hearts, right? So they drive themselves up here into their heads.
Yes.
So I think this is
they're extremely brilliant, these people too.
Yes.
Right? So because I find that the people who come to me have tried everything,
Yeah.
and nothing's really worked
Yeah.
because nobody's been really able to get them out of their heads and into their hearts, and that's the key. And you get somebody out of your head who's really intelligent and into their hearts, and they recognize the power of the heart. And then all of a sudden we're really making progress. And because of the intelligence and the heart connection, then we heal quickly, which is kind of fun too.
Well, the 11s tend to be very empathic, right?
Absolutely.
Which is related to the heart, but quite often it gets, shut down. And when it's shut down, they're not really operating to their max, right? They're not really stepping into their potential. And they've been given this incredible gift. They chose to bring this incredible gift with them to use, to be empathetic, to be intuitive, to be tapped into spirit sort of thing. But they've shut that door down due to, environmental issues or whatever their choices have been.
Right.
This is an amazing tool. I remember, because I did the same thing. Exactly, word for word, I did the same thing back in, I think, the early 90s with Gary Craig's website and whatnot. And I looked into all of this. And I remember I purchased his courses and all that stuff. I got all his videos. And when I watched one of the videos, I'm sure you'll remember it, it was about Gary being in a psychiatric hospital for veterans.
Yeah.
U.S. veterans. Do you remember this?
Oh,
and there was
absolutely.
a guy that had been in there forever. And he had the most top of the line professional counseling. He'd done it all. And he couldn't get past his PTSD.
Right.
Do you remember he was the guy that was in Vietnam, and he had fallen asleep out in the jungle. And when he woke up, he realized he was on top of a pile of bodies, of dead bodies. And he was so shocked and so destroyed over that, he could never get past it. But Gary went in there with one session of tapping, and this guy was just like amazed at how he released it.
You get to a point where you can actually talk about something as if it happened to somebody else. Like
right.
You can remember everything.
Yes.
You don't have the emotional charge is literally plucked out of the system.
That's right.
I like to call EFT an extraction tool for unwanted negative emotions.
I used to work with a lot of women who were sexually abused, and I used to say to them, listen, and I would use tapping with them, and I would say, I can't make you forget what happened, but I can sure help you to feel differently about it.
Yes.
Right? So
Absolutely.
That's the whole point of it, right? Is to be able to, we're not trying to say we're going to hammer out, any of these negative emotions you have, but we're going to help you to feel differently about them so that they don't stop you in your tracks every time.
Right. And Ann, there's another thing that I love about tapping. And I've been doing this now for 12 years, full time, as my primary practice. So I work with people every day. And I find that one of the greatest things about tapping is there's no negative side effects. There's nothing bad ever happens. Nothing in 12 years of all the terrible traumas that I've heard about from people, things that have happened to people, nothing bad has happened. Nobody's lost it or had a bad, what they call an ab reaction. None of that. And when people have become extremely emotional, that happens. But as long as I don't get afraid,
yes,
as long as I don't get afraid, as long as I know that we can just keep tapping, and eventually all of that trauma will just kind of lift up and
it just melts away.
Fly away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody can feel safe to come into tapping as well, which compared to taking medication or going into some, working with a psychiatrist or a psychologist, those sorts of things, sometimes bad things can happen.
So some of the common things that Master Number 11s experience, one of them, of course, is not being good enough because they have a tendency to compare themselves. There's all this cellular memory because they're the old souls, right? Yeah. And they have a tendency to compare themselves to previous lifetimes and how they lived in previous lifetimes. So they have a tendency to kind of not feel good enough.
Right.
EFT would be helpful for this, right?
Oh, it's one of the most common things that I work with. It's interesting. Because we get to the core issue of whatever was going on in the first place.
Right.
The process is similar for phobia as it is for feelings of unworthiness.
Right.
So the process is very similar.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the fun things, questions that I like to get people to make statements. So one of the statements that I get people to make is, especially when they're feeling unworthy or not good enough, no matter how hard I try, I was never good enough for mom or dad,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Or both, right? But
Mm-hmm.
usually I'll pick on whoever the person is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We've already talked about, right? It's like,
Right.
no matter how hard I tried, I was never enough for mom, or I could never make mom happy, or I could never make dad feel better, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that often, when I get people to say that, the tears will start to flow.
Yeah.
And then when the tears start to flow, and people always accuse me of making them cry. I say, I don't make you cry. The tears are living inside you. I just help you get them out.
That's exactly right. They gotta come
Just
out.
help you set them free, you know, set those tears free. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We have a lot of fun.
Well, that's it, right? That's absolutely it.
Yeah.
So anxiety is another one that this is really good for.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Try it. One of Gary Craig's favorite taglines is try it on everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because it does no harm. You can't really, you know, I mean, the worst case scenario is it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I can't say that I've ever had a situation where it didn't work to some degree.
Right.
We haven't always healed everything, but you know.
Well, you know what? When we were talking about doing this presentation, do you remember I was really uncomfortable because I had sciatic nerve pain?
I do. I remember. What?
That was only a week ago.
Yeah.
Now, I've tapped on it. I've tapped on it since, but I really felt a big shift when you helped me with that.
Right.
And I'm pain free. Like I really am.
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, that's why I get up in the morning, you know.
Yeah. No, seriously, I want people to know that. Like it was very, we didn't go into it too long, but we uncovered some stuff that was there, and yeah, it's
so you can confirm that the sciatic discomfort that you had was preceded by an emotion.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
So we worked on that emotion.
Yeah.
In order to relieve the pain.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, I knew it was tied into the root and the sacral. I was quite sure of that, right? But
but it's an added benefit. A lot of people come, especially with lower back pain, because a lot of people carry the weight of the world on their shoulders, especially your number 11s, right? They're carrying a lot of responsibility in their minds on their shoulders, right? And so then there's a lot of lower back pain. There's a lot of tension in the neck and shoulders, and there's you know, sometimes you get a frozen shoulder. I've worked with frozen shoulder. I mean, all of these physical discomforts, I believe, all begin with a thought.
Right, that's right. And you know, the other thing that I was going to mention with Master Number 11s, what's very common for them is depression, which results as a result of choosing to feel that you're not good enough.
Right.
Right. You're not measuring up. So there's all these cool things. So why don't we show our viewers what a typical session would look like.
Okay. So are we going to work for real, or are we going to play?
Well, let's work for real. Let's do.
Right. So what's going on, Ann?
How long have you got, Al?
About an hour and a half, I think.
Now, you know what I have? I have a fear when I'm riding my horse, friend's horse. I have a fear of asking her to canter, which is an advanced gait from the trot, because she's resistant. And when I ask her to do it, she typically will buck. And it doesn't usually end well for me, right? And I don't want to fall off anymore. So I have this fear of asking her to move forward. And it's scary for me on many levels.
So so imagine that you're on the horse at this moment. Okay. And we're starting this right now. We're starting right now. So imagine that you're on the horse and that you've been kind of walking along with the horse and everything's fine. And you've decided you got a little open range ahead of you and you want to pick up the pace. And you're getting ready to ask her to go a little bit faster.
Okay.
So I want you to be on the horse. I want you to imagine that you're on the horse. I want you to feel the feeling of discomfort that you have before you ask her to go. And on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being really extremely fearful, 0 not at all, how fearful are you as you imagine that?
Let's say about a 6.
Okay. So sometimes I ask people to close their eyes, and actually, why don't you close your eyes for a second and just imagine that you're sitting on the horse. Okay. Feel that feeling. Okay. I want you to get into the feeling of getting ready to do whatever it is. Give her a little kick or a swat or whatever you do to get her going.
Okay.
And you're about to do that, and you're pretty aware of how she might react. How is it that you feel right now?
Well, I have a tendency to stop breathing, and I lean forward, and I tense up.
And I'm afraid she's going to buck me off.
Yeah, because she'll usually resist initially, and then if I never hit her with a crop, but I might tap her with a crop, and that's going to send her right up in the air.
And how do you feel as you imagine that happening now?
Fearful.
What's your number?
7.
Okay. So you rose up. We got you a little, I was feeling like you weren't quite. Come on out. Come on out. And start tapping on what we call the karate chop point, or the friendly spot, which is the bottom of the hand, where if you were grabbing somebody to shake hands, it would be that spot. So we're tapping and say, even though I'm afraid to ask the horse to run, or whatever word you want to use.
Even though I'm afraid to ask the horse to canter, treasure to canter. Even though I'm afraid to ask treasure to canter.
I love and accept myself deeply and completely.
I love and accept myself deeply and completely.
I have this fear.
I have this fear.
The horse likely knows it.
I'm sure the horse likely knows it.
And I'm afraid to ask her to canter.
I'm afraid to ask her to canter.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
I love and accept myself anyway.
I love and accept myself anyway.
Even though I'm afraid to ask the horse to canter.
Even though I'm afraid to ask the horse to canter.
I love and accept myself deeply and completely.
I love and accept myself deeply and completely.
Now we're going to go through 8 tapping points that represent 326 million different energy meridian points in your body.
Okay.
And we're going to go up here to the top of the head. And we're going to say, even though I have this fear.
This
fear of asking the horse to canter.
This fear of asking the horse to canter.
This fear of getting bucked off.
This fear of getting bucked off.
This fear of having a negative reaction from the horse.
This fear of having a negative reaction from the horse.
Possibly hurting myself. It's happened in the past.
Possibly hurting myself, which has happened in the past.
I'm afraid to ask the horse to canter.
I'm afraid to ask the horse to canter.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm not.
I choose not to be.
I choose not to be.
I choose not to be afraid.
I choose not to be afraid.
No, I really do. I choose not to be afraid.
No, I really do. I choose to not be afraid.
To be at peace.
To be at peace.
With the horse.
With the horse.
And energetically let the horse know.
And energetically, I want to let the horse know that I'm at peace.
That I'm not in fear.
I'm not in fear.
And I love and accept that notion.
I love and accept that notion.
Under the arm. That's it. And take a deep breath in through the nose and hold it. And out through the mouth. By the way, I highly recommend whenever you're breathing that you breathe in very slowly through the nose.
Okay.
You separate the inhalation from the exhalation. And then you slowly out through the mouth, making the sound of ha. Okay. The sound of ha is also the word for God.
Okay.
In some ancient texts. So imagine that you're on the horse. Okay. You're back on the horse. And you've been walking along and you're getting ready to, I want you to go in there and close your eyes and get on the horse and feel the feeling of it. And imagine that the horse is walking along and you're about to ask her to go. What is your feeling now? You were a 7. Are you still a 7? I have no expectation here. You could have gone up or down.
No, I think it's, you know what? I think I felt it shift. There's a certain vibration that I get, and I
right.
Shift. I'm gonna say about a 5.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have a thought around that kind of made that shift? Was there a thought as you would have been tapping on one of the particular tapping points when that happened? Yes. So that tapping point would be the one where the emotion was lodged in that 1/8 326 million bundle of
here and here.
Yeah, bundle of energy nerves. Yeah.
Usually because I hit my head when I fall. So.
Okay.
That's probably why it's lodged there.
Could be that. Now this one under the nose and on the chin, you'll notice I went back and forth a couple times there. Yes. Those are often what I call power points for people. So I'll stay on those 2 points. Also, if you think about the way the meridians are connected, you've got a meridian that runs across down all the way to the anus. Yeah. And then another one that comes up and ends in the chin, but the two of them don't connect on either end.
Right. That's right.
So we connect them as we tap back and forth. We tie them together.
Okay.
To make a whole body experience, right?
Okay.
Okay. So you're a 5. What did you have a thought about why you might be a 5 instead of a 7?
See, I'm all about recognizing that we choose how we feel, and that I get it, that I am choosing to feel fear around this, right?
But then there's still the reality that the horse could buck you off, even if you're not afraid, right? The horse could.
As you said that, it was like, right, that is true.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can keep going, but that's a pretty good example of how one round would go.
Yes.
And then I'd be asking different, more pointed questions to kind of get you farther down the road to let that. So you went from a 7 to a 5. I mean, that's about a 25% reduction, maybe 30% reduction.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
No, and I know that
you
really pursue it. I mean, so we don't have to go through the whole thing again, but the whole protocol again. But I know, as you would be discussing things with me, you'd be asking me questions. Why are you feeling this way? And one of the reasons that I fear falling off is A, I don't want to get hurt.
Right.
B, it takes too long to recover. Like it just seems to take forever to recover, and I'm not the most patient person there is. But ultimately, I'm self-employed, right? So there's a financial component to that as well that can lead you on a whole nother bunny trail.
Right. So you gave me. So I don't mean to interrupt, but you gave me 3 different paths to take in our session to talk about.
That's
One
right.
is like, when is the last time you fell off and really did kind of hurt yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The self-limiting belief that says it takes a long time to heal.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
That's been your experience, but it's not necessarily your future.
Right. That's right.
If we change that, right?
Right. Exactly.
And the third one I forget now, went right out of my head. But anyway, there's stuff there, right, that we could work on and clean that up.
Oh, I got stuff, Al.
And you're not alone. Let me tell you, we all got stuff. Somebody said, "Do you ever think you're going to do yourself out of a job?" I said, "Absolutely not." I said, I'll never run out of subjects to work with.
Exactly. So basically what we're going to be doing in our live event is when the members who are actually attending the live event, they are going to have this opportunity to work with Al to tap down and to chase the issues at hand. So we're asking you to bring your junk in your trunk, and let's empty out that trunk a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. I can't wait.
I know, me too. I'm looking forward to it. So the other thing too is that if you attend the live event, which again you have to be a member, you have a chance of winning an 1.5-hour session with Al. This is a personal session scheduled between the two of you, where you'll be going to meet with Al just like this on Zoom, and you'll be able to connect with him live. So that's just an invaluable gift. I thank you for that, Al. So if you want to attend this event, you need to join the Master Number 11 membership. It's www.masternumber11.com. And it's all explained right there on the website for you. It's $11 a month. And guys, this is an amazing opportunity because you can join today, you can cancel tomorrow. It's entirely up to you. There's never any penalty for canceling if that's what you choose to do. But I think you'll find it's really great because in that, once you get into the membership, you're going to see that there's all kinds of videos on practitioners that I've brought in dealing with adrenal fatigue for 11s, diet issues. We're talking about how to cleanse your aura, how to keep your space clear, how to connect with spirit, all kinds of really cool stuff, all related to Master Number 11s. None of this information is available anywhere else on the internet. This is all exclusive to the membership. $11 a month, right? But the other cool thing it does is it allows you to attend the live event once a month, where you can connect with myself and my guest. You can ask them whatever questions, and these things usually go on for about a couple hours, so you get all kinds of time to connect. If you can't connect at that time, you're going to get a copy of the video anyways. We're going to email that to you afterwards. So I really hope that you'll consider joining us. So Al, I'm super excited. I'm going to see you on Monday, October 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So
I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. I love the way you bring your energy forward to ask the questions and talk to your folks online here. And so I think we're just going to have a lot of fun.
I know we will. I can't wait.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thanks so much, Al. I appreciate you stopping by. And we'll see you on Monday, October 21st at 7 p.m. Eastern.
The pleasure is mine.
Hope to see you guys too. Bye for now.